Recently, Cardi B's performance at the 2021 Grammys ignited a storm of controversy.
Hey, yo, ho, it's wet, wet, wet. I did a bucket and I'm not, that's a wet, wet, wet. I'm talking rock, 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 that's a wet, wet, wet. I make it rain if you wanna see some wet, 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 huh?
Now, whatever you might think about this spectacle, it's worth remembering that the Grammys, which began in 1959, have traditionally been considered family-friendly television. However, whether what you are currently watching is suitable for children apparently depends on where you fall on the political spectrum. Many news outlets and political commentators called the performance sex-positive, courageous, and empowering. According to CNN, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion served up a very sex-positive performance. According to Cosmopolitan, Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B's Grammy performance was literally incredible. According to Variety, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's wild WAP performance fires up the Grammys. Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion amped up the Grammys with a jaw-dropping performance of their Not Safe for Work anthem, WAP. Even though the chorus was changed to Wet, Wet, Wet to pass network muster, the song's message of sexual empowerment remained clear. In response to the praise, Candace Owens went on to Tucker Carlson's show to discuss the performance.
Virtually, what we were looking at last night was a lesbian sex scene being simulated on television, and this is considered feminist. It's iconic, it's forward, it's progressive, it's the way the world's going, Tucker, and if you don't see that, it's because you're a bigot. You don't understand. This is the way the world needs to go. I 100% agree with you in the assessment that this feels more sinister. This is starting to me to seem like it's not even left or right. It's not a political issue. This seems like an attack on American values, American traditions, and you're actually actively trying to make children aspire to things that are grotesque. This is not about diversity anymore, Tucker. It's about perversity. No. We are celebrating perversity in America.
They're trying to degrade us.
They call this great. They say this is fabulous, that this is the stuff that children should be aspiring towards. So at the same time, Tucker, that we have kids that are not learning hard academics anymore in school, right? Forget about mathematics and science. You can trust the science and trust Dr. Fauci, but you have these kids learning about critical race theory. They're learning that they should aspire to people like Cardi B. You see that fundamentally we are seeing the destruction of American values, American principles, and it's terrifying. I think parents should be terrified that this is the direction that our society is heading towards. And again, we are weakening America. That's really what we should be talking about. This is a weakening of American society. We are setting the stage, and it feels like we are looking at corrosion, like we are about to see the end of an empire. America cannot survive. It cannot be sustained under these sorts of values and principles.
In response to Candace's negative and critical commentary about the performance, Cardi B appeared to celebrate on Twitter. In response, Owens immediately fired back. "You are a cancer cell to culture. Young black girls are having their minds poisoned by what you are trying to package and sell to them as, quote, empowerment. I'm one of the few that has the courage to tell you the truth. You should thank me." Cardi B responds, "I find it funny that millions of rioters entering and destroying the Capitol, showing enemies and terrorists how weak America's security isn't corrosion to our country, but me performing WAP when you can monetize your kids from watching is. I love the hypocrisy." It's worth noting that Cardi B's response to Candace is a classic case of whataboutism. The Capitol riots were bad. Our national security is lacking. Therefore, you can't criticize my highly sexualized performance on national television during what has been traditionally considered a family-friendly program. She even seems to admit near the end that she can make money from her highly erotic art when children watch the performance. Candace responds, "The reason my comments always get you into your feelings is because deep down, you know what I am saying is true. you are in a position to empower young women to aspire to something more than taking off their clothes, but you don't feel you can be more. Later in the discussion, Candace observes, "You are insecure and I irk you because I see right through the facade. You are part of a larger cancer that is manifesting in black culture. There's no person in America who can look you in the face and honestly say they wish their daughters turned out like you." Cardi responds to Candace with another off-topic tweet about how she's thankful for the attention, the free press, and the notoriety. And Candace responds, "I do not take issue with you having success. I take issue with you being used to encourage young women to strip themselves of dignity. Men typically treat women how they treat themselves. You know that." Now, it's worth noting that this tweet got some backlash, but Candace wasn't saying anything that isn't obviously true. Some attributed her comments to mean that women deserve the way that men treat them, but that's not the case at all. It's common knowledge that the way we view and treat ourselves has a huge impact and a massive reflection on the way others treat us. Men are told constantly that to be successful around women, we need to be more confident, more courageous, and to think of ourselves as suave and charming, because that will reflect how women see and treat us, and this is absolutely true. But apparently, holding women to the same standard and recognizing that acting like a hoe will get you treated like a hoe is sexist.
You be at a club, bar, right? You're just kicking with your boys, and a girl walks by, and man, she looks good. She looks good. Not good in that classical way. I mean, you know, I'm talking good, like she got half her ass hanging out her skirt. And you with your buddies, right? You with your buddies, you got a couple drinks in you, and you see a girl like this, you might try to talk to her. This might not come out right. I don't know what you say, but damn, look at them titties! Right? The girl gets mad and says, wait a minute. Just because I'm dressed this way does not make me a whore. Which is true. Gentlemen, that is true. Just because they dress a certain way doesn't mean they are a certain way. Don't ever forget it. But ladies, you must understand that that is fucking confusing. Just is. Now that would be like me, Dave Chappelle the comedian, walking around the streets in a cop uniform. Somebody might run up on me. Oh, thank God. Officer, help us. Come on, they're over here. Help us. I'm like, oh, just because I'm dressed this way does not make me a police officer. It's like, all right, lady, fine. You are not a whore. But you are wearing a whore's uniform, I'll tell you that shit right now.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. Hold up. I said certified freak 7 days a week. Wet ass P-word. Make that pull-out game weak. P-word. P-word is female genitalia. It continues along these lines. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P-word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P-word. Give me everything you got for this wet ass P-word. I mean, a bucket and a mop?
In case it wasn't clear, those are the actual lyrics to Cardi B's song, WAP, which was recently performed at the Grammys. So Cardi B responds to Candace on Twitter by bringing up a joke video Candace made in which she claims to disappoint feminists by making a sandwich for her husband while she's literally barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Cardi B asks, "And black women should be more like you? After all the fighting for equality and freedom, they should be submissive to a white man? After years of abuse and rape, making them a sandwich while pregnant? Because in your words, that's what a woman should do." Interesting. So while it's taken me about 10 minutes to arrive at this point, this is the reason I made the entire video. I'm not that interested in petty squabbles between female celebrities on Twitter. But what I do find interesting is that the disagreement and debate here signifies something even more profound. I believe what we're actually witnessing here is a conflict between traditional values and feminist values. Candace Owens in this debate represents a woman with traditional values. She enjoys cooking and serving her husband. She dresses and acts modestly. She doesn't mind being a stay-at-home wife and having a child. She's in a healthy, long-term, monogamous relationship. She speaks and acts formally, with candor, and with grace. She views lewd and disgusting displays of overt female sexuality and whoredom as disgraceful and degrading to women. Cardi B, by contrast, defines herself and her brand with her sexuality. She's overtly crass and vulgar. She proudly displays her body by wearing almost nothing while on stage, and while performing, gyrating her hips and shaking her ass. She doesn't hide or sugarcoat her desires, lust, or her love of sex, penis, and money. She's unashamed to admit her hypergamy, her materialism, or her desire to pursue wealthy men. She confidently expresses her belief that she can use her sexuality as a commodity to leverage what she wants out of men, which can clearly be seen within the WAP lyrics themselves. I don't cook, I don't clean, but let me tell you how I got this ring. Ask for a car while you ride that dick. Pay my tuition just to kiss me. Cardi B also proudly displays her feminist ideology, while Candace Owens could not be more vehemently against it. The beliefs and values of these women could not be more different, and because of that, I believe they represent two competing archetypes within our culture. It's also worth noting that Cardi B is considered a cultural icon, a sex-positive feminist hero, and a role model for women everywhere. Her song WAP, the music video I was just using, topped the #1 charts in basically every country on Earth, and was named Song of the Year by NPR. But don't let me mansplain it to you. I'll let Cardi B use her own words.
But let me tell you something, right? Why wouldn't Joe Biden sit down with me, Cardi B? I have millions of followers, and I pay millions in taxes. I have the #1 song in this country. I got the #1 song in fucking the United Kingdom. I have the #1 song in Australia. I got the #1 song in New Zealand. I'm heard all around the world. So just like I can make people pop their pussy and have a good time and make them feel like a bad bitch, I could also encourage millions of followers to go vote.
Anyway, back to the Twitter exchange. Candace Owens responds to Cardi B's last provocation by stating, "If you think making your husband a sandwich is a sin, but popping your vagina into another woman's in front of the world is power, you are a lost soul." This is another representation of the differing women's values in action. Where Cardi B embodies the strong independent feminist black woman stereotype that views submissiveness and servitude towards a man as degrading and dehumanizing, Candace Owens counters that there's nothing wrong with traditional values and a traditional relationship. And in fact, it's the act of female self-objectification that is the true dehumanization and degradation of women's worth. Candace continues, "You always love to mention my husband's skin tone. So let me ask, what color are the people that are encouraging you to strip in front of the world? Who owns your record labels? Who owns CBS and the Grammys? Who made the most money off of your WAP? You sold it to who?" This is the problem with Cardi B's typical feminist tactic of bringing identity politics and Candace's husband's skin color into the debate. It's a hypocritical losing strategy, as the answer to the questions Owens has just posed about who owns and profits from the multi-billion-dollar conglomerates that Cardi B has unequivocally used for her success is self-evident. Cardi B responds, "And as a black woman, you should know better than that. You know damn well America made caricature of black women only being good in the kitchen and taking care of children, also known as the mammy." So again, Cardi B is using the typical feminist tactic of bringing histrionics and identity politics into the debate. She's attempting to shame Candace for having traditional values and a white husband because of some abstract historical concept of how white men treated black women, and using outdated stereotypes that are no longer relevant. Her arguments are completely ridiculous and anti-intellectual, but this is the typical form the modern feminist rhetoric takes. It cannot win an argument on its own merits, so it resorts to pointing towards historical injustices and invoking identity politics in order to shame its opponents into submission. Candace, however, isn't taking the bait. Belcalis, which is Cardi B's real name. I will literally make my husband a sandwich every single day of the week. You're struggling right now to change the topic because you are ashamed of your performance, and you should be. You look foolish, trying to make your onstage lesbian simulation about a sandwich. You're all over the place trying to make people look at anything but the issue at hand. Your performance was grotesque. This is not about love and hip-hop. This is not about my husband's sandwich. This is about you and the vulgarity that you espouse that is ruinous to our youth. We hear so many women complaining about how men treat women. Cardi B begs the question, how do women treat themselves? We can fix black culture. We can't do it if we keep pretending it's not broken. That performance was disgusting. Let's start by calling a spade a spade.
Now, I want you to consider, just to further illustrate this, the words of a woman by the name of Suki Hana, who appeared in the WAP music video and later joined Cardi and the gang for a discussion promoted and broadcast by Apple Music. Here's what she had to say. Listen to this.
I feel like being like sexual and shit, like I don't see nothing wrong with that because, baby, I got 3 kids. And I mean, I got these kids from and f***ing. At the end of the day, me being a hoe, like these people say, like, honestly, I liberate a lot of hoes. You feel me? When I hear Cardi talk about popping some me and my is with it. Like, that liberate us because it's like, you self-respect as hoes. Cause how y'all got self-respect? Like, I don't think y'all got self-respect like that. Cause first of all, you supposed to tax these. That's self-respect. You feel me? Like, it make me feel liberated. Like, I love crossing boundaries. Cause guess what? Scared money don't make no money. If you gonna be scared to get that money, you gonna be scared to be yourself and say this who I am, then you ain't gonna get that coin like that.
Facts.
Notice the question she poses. How y'all got self-respect, she asks. She quite literally doesn't even understand the concept of self-respect. She goes from recoiling at the very idea that a woman would respect herself to suggesting that true self-respect is to be found in the payment a man renders after having sex with you. Need I explain the problem here? People pay for goods and services. To get paid for your sexuality is to have it treated with the same reverence that one affords a hamburger or an oil change. You have reduced yourself, your body, your very person, to a commodity and offered it to someone who doesn't care about you, certainly doesn't love you, and sees you only as a means to an end. This is the diametric opposite of self-respect. Why do you think drug abuse and suicide are so common among prostitutes? Reducing yourself to the sum total of your body parts is not a path to a healthy life, or a long one, we should note. It is a road to disappointment and despair and death, where the fun, for whatever it's worth, is sure to dissipate when your physical beauty wears away, if not long before. This is the road that Cardi B, her fellow pop stars, and her insidious cheerleaders in the media would like your daughter to walk down.
We praise trashy role models who perpetuate our dysfunction. I'm talking to you. Cardi B, anyone? Meg the Stallion, anyone? And all the other folks in between there. We praise, like, these women who feign being strong, independent, don't need nothing, don't need nobody, rah, this, that, and the other. We praise that. And they just, like, to me, they perpetuate, am I saying this right? They perpetuate the absolute worst of what we can be when it talks about being truly empowered women. Like, when did being empowered actually equal us being crass and hypersexual and all of these things? But the liberal narrative of the strong, independent woman, loves that. And if you don't like that, then there's something wrong with you, because there's a lot of you right now who are feeling extremely triggered. Hi, sorry, whatever. You'll get over it. I did a video on this where I talked about the WAP, the WAP, WAP, whatever, WAP video, and how it's really detrimental to us as women and for our young daughters as well, and what they're seeing in the media and what they are emulating as what being a woman is all about. And if you want to see that, go ahead and check it out right here. But we've embraced this dysfunction in a way that I find just really mind-blowing. How can you really, listen, I don't want to get into a moral debate, because some of you are going to just have a heart attack that I'm saying that, WAP or WAP or WAP, however you want to call it, is not empowering, and that being hypersexual is not empowering at all. Some of you are just going out of your seat bonkers. But when it comes to having dignity in class and really truly valuing yourself, where does that really come in? You can be a sensual and sexual woman all that you want and still be classy about it. But if you believe that, guess what? You're toxic. You're toxic. Give me a break. Give me a break.
So to finish this video, I want to mention one final thing that should be the nail in the coffin for this discussion. I'd like to cite a recent study by the American Psychological Association, which shows that the sexualization of girls harms women and harms society. The study reads, "Sexualization of girls is linked to common mental health problems in girls and women, eating disorders, low self-esteem, and depression," an APA task force reports. A report of the American Psychological Association released today found evidence that the proliferation of sexualized images of girls and young women in advertising, merchandising, and media is harmful to girls' self-image and healthy development. What a shocker! Now, none of this should come as a surprise to anybody with a modicum of common sense. The modern feminist notion of sex positivity in the form of trashy quote-unquote role models like Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion are contributing to the decline of the physical and emotional health of young women. While I don't always agree with traditional values, as every cultural value should be examined, we as a society have to acknowledge that traditions exist for a reason. Traditions become so because they simulate habits occurring on a social level that have typically worked so well for so long that they have become part of the fabric of the culture. The male and female relationship norms that have been the foundation of Western society for the past several thousand years became a tradition not because it was perfect or because it didn't have flaws, but because it worked well and led to a stable and healthy society. Those same traditions, which are now viewed as sexist, misogynist, and degrading by feminists, and which have unequivocally, by much of our culture and mainstream forces, been haphazardly discarded and thrown aside for a new message of unbridled sexuality and wanton hedonism, have had a completely destructive effect on women's well-being and on society as a whole. While it may have at first sounded rhetorical and alarmist, I agree with Candace Owens that these popular social messages and psychotic role models that we worship will eventually lead to the downfall of Western civilization unless something changes.
Cardi B knows that what she is doing and what she is putting in the world is not helping to create a world that is good, is a good world to live in, right? She knows she's not doing that. So the reason why she gets so bothered by me and she always seems so flustered when I just speak truth about who and what she is because she knows it's real, right? Like Cardi actually probably wants to be more. She probably wants to aspire to more, but she's stuck right now because she has branded herself like a moron. Like all she can do is take off her clothes. So she's got to take off more clothes and do less and talk about less and debase herself even further. that is horrible. She's not even waiting for the world to degrade her. She's degrading herself, which is sad, right? And in a way, I do feel bad for Cardi because we know she's not, happy. Things are not copacetic in her home. She's at the same time trying to make you guys think that she's empowered by a relationship that's broken and toxic. Yeah, my husband cheats on me. Whatever she has said, in various interviews. This is how I like it. I like this toxic relationship. Whatever it is. It's just not true. She doesn't. There's no woman that likes a relationship that doesn't make them feel secure. When you find a good man, they make you feel secure. My husband makes me feel secure, right? That's why I don't mind making him a sandwich and putting it on Instagram and mocking feminists, because I'm in a happy and a healthy relationship, right? I'm not looking for something else in the world. I don't need to go around and put my ass cheeks and vagina on the internet to have people ogle at me because I'm in a mature relationship that I feel fulfilled in, right? So there is something that is unfulfilled in her and she's searching for more. And these are the things, by the way, that I speak to women about. Like, you so often hear women that go around and say that there are no good men left, right? That men are horrible and men treat women horribly. And I always ask the question, okay, but how are women treating themselves, right? How are we presenting ourselves, right? How do you expect a man to show you respect when you don't show respect to yourself? You don't respect yourself. We have to be better if we expect better. If we want better, then we have to be better. I mean, it's really that simple. And this is something that Cardi B does not understand. And you can sense her desperation.